All right, we're going to talk about something that, honestly, messes with your whole idea of history. It's an artifact so advanced, so completely out of place, that it kind of rewrites everything we thought we knew about the ancient world. We're diving into the story of the Antikythera Mechanism, an object that, for all intents and purposes, just shouldn't exist.
I mean, that's literally how it was described. Picture this. It's 1901, and some sponge divers pull this corroded lump of bronze out of a 2,000-year-old shipwreck. At first, they had no clue what they were looking at, but as researchers started cleaning it up and piecing it together, they realized they were holding something impossible, something that just completely blows our timeline of technology right out of the water.
And that's the heart of the mystery, right there. You've got this 2,000-year-old box. Okay, ancient Rome makes sense. But then you look inside, and it's filled with this incredibly complex clockwork of interlocking gears. I mean, this level of engineering, it just wasn't supposed to show up for at least another 1,000 years. So what was it doing there?
Okay, so let's rewind and go right back to the beginning. The whole story kicks off in the Aegean Sea, near this little Greek island called Antikythera. It's here that a totally chance discovery in a Roman-era shipwreck would, well, end up challenging everything we thought we knew about history.
And you can really picture it, can't you? This thing gets pulled up from the bottom of the sea, it's covered in all sorts of gunk and marine growth after 2 millennia. It just looked like a piece of junk, another worthless lump of bronze from the wreck. Nobody, and I mean nobody, had any idea that this thing held the secret to a whole lost world of genius.
So this timeline really puts the whole puzzle into perspective. Look at this. The gears inside the mechanism, they were made around 100 BC. But technology even remotely this sophisticated, with complex interlocking gear trains, we don't see anything like it again until the huge astronomical clocks in 14th century Europe. That is a 1,500-year gap. For 15 centuries, this knowledge just disappeared. So once the shock wore off and researchers realized they were dealing with something special, the real work started. The big question became, what in the world was this thing for? What could it possibly do that required such an insane level of engineering 2,000 years ago?
Yeah, get this. Tucked away inside that corroded box, scientists found more than 30 individual bronze gears. And we're not talking about clunky, crude cogs here. These things were precisely cut, mathematically perfect. Each one was handmade to slide into this unbelievably complex system. It was just a masterpiece.
And that really was the puzzle that stumped scientists for decades. I mean, why would the ancient Greeks build something like this? There was no precedent for it. What problem were they trying to solve that was so important it needed a machine this advanced?
Well, the answer, when they finally figured it out, was absolutely mind-blowing. This wasn't just a machine, it was a cosmic calculator. You turn a single crank on the side and it would map the entire heavens. It could track the sun, the moon, tell you the positions of the zodiac. It even predicted solar and lunar eclipses. And get this, it even modeled the moon's weird, irregular orbit, something that scientists struggled to figure out again for centuries.
So let's just be super clear about what we're talking about here. The Antikythera Mechanism was, in every meaningful way, a computer. To be specific, it's what we'd call an analog computer. It used physical things, the gears themselves, to model a much bigger problem, in this case, the movement of the entire cosmos. And as far as we know, it's the very first one ever made. Okay, so a machine this brilliant obviously doesn't just build itself. It had to come from a mind that was just as brilliant. And that, of course, leads us to the next massive mystery. Who? Who on Earth could have possibly designed and built this thing?
Well, we don't know for sure, but there are a couple of leading theories. The first one points to the legendary inventor himself, Archimedes. He was around at the right time, and ancient texts actually mention him building similar kinds of mechanical spheres. The other big theory is that it came from the School of Rhodes. This place was a major hub for Greek astronomy, home to some brilliant minds like the astronomer Hipparchus.
But, maybe the deepest, most profound question this thing asks us isn't even about what it is. It's about what happened after it was created. Why did this incredible technology just vanish? What does that tell us about history and how fragile knowledge can be?
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. The actual knowledge, the ability to build these complex astronomical computers, which was clearly a high point of Greek science, it was just gone, wiped out.
And we're not talking about a couple of centuries, we're talking about almost 1,500 years. A whole millennium and a half went by before humans figured out how to build machines this complicated again. It's like a technological dark age we never even knew about.
So how does that even happen? Well, the leading theory is that when great centers of learning, think of the Library of Alexandria, were destroyed, it wasn't just the blueprints that were lost, it was the fundamental understanding of how to do this kind of engineering that was erased. Civilization literally forgot how.
But the story isn't over. In the last few decades, thanks to some really high-tech X-ray scanning, scientists were able to read these incredibly faint inscriptions that were hidden deep inside the mechanism's gears. And what they found was, basically, a user's manual, and it revealed the machine's true purpose. It wasn't just for experts, it was an educational machine, designed to teach people how the universe actually worked.
So when you put it all together, the Antikythera Mechanism is so much more than just a cool old artifact. It's like a ghost from a lost world. It's solid proof that ancient civilizations reached a level of scientific genius we thought was totally impossible for that time. It's a window into a history that was way more advanced and maybe a lot more fragile than we ever gave it credit for.
And that really leaves us with a final, kind of haunting question, doesn't it? If a device this incredible could be made and then just completely forgotten for 1,500 years, what else is out there? What else did we lose along the way? How many other amazing inventions are still buried in the sand or sitting at the bottom of the ocean, just waiting? You have to wonder, what else have we forgotten?